The strange and fascinating story of O Holy Night began in France, yet eventually made its way around the world. This song, seemingly a simple song inspired by a request from a clergyman, would not only become one of the most beloved anthems of all time, it would mark a technological revolution that would forever change the way people were introduced to music. In 1847, Placide Cappeau was the commissioner of wines in a small French town. Known more for his poetry than church attendance, it probably shocked Placide Cappeau when his parish priest asked the commissioner to make a poem for the upcoming Christmas Mass. Nevertheless, the poet was honored to share his talents with the church. While traveling down a bumpy road to France's capital city, Cappeau considered the priest's request. Reading the Gospel of Luke as his guide, Cappeau imagined witnessing the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem. Thoughts of being present on the blessed night inspired him. By the time he arrived in Paris, Cantique de Noël had been completed. Moved by his own work, Cappeau decided that his Cantique de Noël was not just a poem, but a song in need of a master's hand. Not musically inclined himself, the poet turned to one of his friends, Adolphe Charles Adam, for help. The son of a well-known classic musician, his talent and fame brought requests to write works for orchestras and ballets all over the world. Yet the lyrics that his friend Cappeau gave him must have challenged the composer in a fashion unlike anything he received from London, Berlin, or St. Petersburg. For Adolphe, being a Jew, the words of Cantique de Noël is a day he does not celebrate and a man who he did not view Jesus as the Son of God. Nevertheless, Adam quickly went to work, attempting to merge an original music tune to compose beautiful words. Adam's finished work pleased both poet and priest. The song was performed just 3 weeks later at a midnight mass on Christmas Eve. Cantique de Noël was wholeheartedly accepted by the church in France, and the song quickly found its way into various Catholic Christmas services. But when Placide Cappeau walked away from the church and became a part of the socialist movement, and church leaders discovered that Adolphe Adams was a Jew, the song, which had quickly grown to be one of the most beloved Christmas songs in France, was suddenly and uniformly denounced by the Catholic Church. The heads of the French Catholic Church of the time deemed Cantique de Noël as unfit for church services because of its lack of musical taste and total absence of the spirit of religion. Yet even as the church tried to bury the Christmas song, the French people continued to sing it.
Years later, a reclusive American writer brought it to the whole new audience halfway around the world. In 1855, John Sullivan Dwight felt this wonderful Christmas song needed to be introduced to America. He saw something else in the song that moved him beyond the story of the birth of Christ. An ardent abolitionist, Dwight strongly identified with the lines of the third verse. Truly he taught us to love one another. His love is law and his gospel is peace. Chains shall he break, for the slave is our brother, and in his name all oppression will cease. The text supported Dwight's own view of slavery in the South. Published in his magazine, Dwight's English translation of O Holy Night quickly found favor in America, especially in the North during the Civil War.
Adolphe Adam had been dead for many years, and Cappeau and Dwight were old men when on Christmas Eve of 1906, Reginald Fessenden, a 33-year-old university professor and former chief chemist for Thomas Edison, did something long thought impossible. Using a new type of generator, Fessenden spoke into a microphone, and for the first time in history, a man's voice was broadcast over the airwaves reading from the book of Luke. He began in a clear, strong voice, hoping he was reaching across the distances he supposed he would. Shocked radio operators on ships and astonished wireless owners at newspapers sat slack-jawed as their normal, coded impulses, heard over tiny speakers, were interrupted by a professor reading from the Gospel of Luke. To the few who caught this broadcast, it must have seemed like a miracle hearing a voice somehow transmitted to those far away. some might have believed they were hearing the voice of an angel. After finishing his recitation of the birth of Christ, Fessenden picked up his violin and played "O Holy Night," the first Christmas song ever sent through the air via radio waves. When the carol ended, so did the broadcast, but not before music had found a new medium that would take it around the world.
Since that first rendition at a small Christmas Mass in 1847, "O Holy Night" has been sung millions of times in churches in every corner of the world. And since the moment a handful of people first heard it played over the radio, the carol has gone on to become one of the entertainment industry's most recorded and played spiritual songs. This incredible work, requested by a forgotten parish priest, written by a poet who would later split from the church, and given soaring music by a Jewish composer, and brought to Americans to serve as much as a tool to spotlight the sinful nature of slavery as to tell the story of the birth of a Savior, has become one of the most beautiful, inspired pieces of music ever created.